What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the Brick Brother Podcast. If you're brand new to our channel, man, please hit the subscribe button, man, and become a brick. For all my other bricks, man, that's locking in back with us, bro. I'm hoping you guys are having a successful new year. You know, we already deep a month in within the new year. So, look, no matter if you having, not the best start to your year, I hope you continue to work forward, man, because I really feel like this is a year of challenge and change and growth, and for everybody to really kind of stick to their goals, man, and be successful, man. So with all that being said, hey, let's lock in, man, and let's get to it.
All right. Speaking of goals and New Year, what are New Masters goals for 2025?
All right, this 2025 we got a lot that's booking up. So I got a lot of things that I'm working on, and I'm trying to get to a certain position where the fans can really get to know who I am. So we gonna be doing a little buck tour. Right now I feel like I haven't gotten word from the UFC about a fight, so I feel like this is the best time to really kind of collect on content, man. Really do what we do right now. That's doing the podcast, man. Going to different events, for the UFC, man. Just being a fan myself, right? And getting to know my fans on a more personal level, man, getting them to know me a little better and just having that opportunity.
Sounds good. So no potential fight that you're looking for. I know you said you're willing to take your time and rest, but is anything that you're particularly looking for as far as opponents, schedule, time, any locations, venues?
Why you playing E? Why you playing E?
Hey, we doing a show here, bud. Like you want to tell you what I know? I can speak for you, but you can speak for yourself.
That's 100. That's 100, man. So you already know who we want. You know who the fans want, man. We want Kamaru Usman, right? So he said he ain't coming back until his knees get right, until he get healthy. So I'm looking forward into getting that fight, and I'm just waiting on the UFC call. But I feel like we're gonna have to do some work on this one. So yet again, what I'm doing and what I plan on doing this year, I feel like it's gonna get me to that situation for me to fight Usman. And if it don't happen, for some odd reason, he still want to do the whole WWE, you know what I'm saying, and train with Triple H and all that stuff. Like, that's cool. We'll let him do that, and we'll go after that belt. Because I don't feel like I need to work backwards on this one. I feel like all the work I didn't put in, especially in 2024, and like I ain't gonna lie, we put in a lot of work for 2024, but I feel like it's gonna be hard to top, but I'm up for the challenge, So with that being said, it's just like there's a lot of things that I got booking, and I got things that I'm working on that's gonna put me in a situation, man, to be successful. And if the Usman fight don't happen, the belt is right there for the taking. Because like I said, there's nobody that's in the welterweight division I feel like making as much noise as me, and especially with me fighting at 170, it's like it ain't been no close competition. Like everybody I've been dominating, bro. From my first fight with Andre Fiallo, Alex Morono, man, Vicente Luque, Ruzaboyev, Wonder Boy, and then Kobe Covington, right, who was number 6 and who was an interim champ, bro. Like I dominated all those guys, so I just really see my opportunity just being right there. Like I could taste it.
No, I agree. And the point I want to make is you took a lot of calculated risk looking back on it, but it was risk, fighting guys on short notice, fighting Ruzaboyev, who's really built like a middleweight, at welterweight, similar style of opponents that some people say you had trouble with. You had the Ian Gary fight switching to Kobe. So I think it's perfectly in line for you to get some good benefit and take some, fights that are in your favor. And I don't mean as far as stylistic matchup. I mean somebody with a big name, somebody who can progress you forward to that title. And you've taken those fights before, for things like Ruzaboyev, I don't think that moved you forward in the title picture, but you did it anyway because you wanted to give St. Louis a show.
Yes, sir.
So I think 2025, you get in that Usman fight, and then you get in that title shot eventually. Yeah. I think that's on the cards.
And then, like you said, right, all these were short notice. Like we didn't have much time to prepare for nobody. We just had to do what we had to do. But now I feel like we're in a perfect space, in a perfect realm where not only can I hunt down this person that I want to fight, but I can actually work on the things that I want to work on to actually become a better fighter. So once I get back out there in the cage and into the octagon, like y'all thought y'all saw something in 2024. Like I just can't wait this year, bro, because at the end of the day, I feel like the things that I've been given, I can only amp that up now because I got time to actually work on the things that I need to work on.
Perfect. Sounds good. Now I'm going to ask you a question. We know the welterweight division, you believe there'll be a new champion. Aside from that weight class, what divisions do you think there'll be a new champion?
That's a good question, bro. That's a good question. I feel like the biggest one right now is the Alex Pereira, right? I feel like Alex Pereira been on a tear, been doing his thing. One of the biggest stars within the division right now, and I feel like now that, he didn't, kind of cleaned out his division to a certain degree, right? With beating the former champions, he got to fight Ankalaev, which Ankalaev give a lot of different, problems when it comes to, with the grappling and with the conditioning, and also, having powers in his hand as well. Because we seen that Alex Pereira been knocked out before, right? So I feel like, Ankalaev can give him a lot of issues. So I can see him taking his belt. Who else we got, I think John Jones gonna keep it. I ain't gonna lie. I was just about to say John Jones, but no, I think my man gonna go off on top, and remain his belt. So that's heavyweight. I just did 205. So who else we got?
So we're on 2 right now. So we had Merab fight what's my brother name? Umar, excuse me. Umar Nurmagomedov.
Who 0-2 though?
No. The challengers so far.
Oh, okay.
On 2. So nobody has succeeded in beating a champion thus far. Obviously,
Okay,
one card in. And then Islam Makhachev fought Renato Moicano, unsuccessful in that fight as well. So, I mean, I think it's wide open for a bunch of new challengers, though.
Right.
I think Dricus and Sean Strickland,
Right.
that's interesting how close that fight was the first time. I don't think John Jones will be champion, but I don't think they'll fight. I think he'll relinquish his belt. I don't think it sounds like what he wants, which I'm not saying he doesn't deserve. I'm not trying to cut another man's pockets, but I don't think the UFC is going to pay it. And I think John is happy to move on. I don't think he needs to do anything else to cement his legacy. He'll go down as the greatest of all time to many people.
He can't leave us like that, bro. He can't leave us
leaving
like
on top.
That,
there's nothing wrong with it. Essentially undefeated. So,
right.
I mean, I think he should fight Tom because, Tom was the interim champion. Then you fight Stipe, who wasn't even ranked, near Tom. And, it is what it is. But I think John Jones probably rides off in the sunset. Who else would I say?
So you got DDP. So do you think he keeps, or do you think he loses to Sean?
I think he loses to somebody this year. Like I said, I'm doubling, tripling down. Nothing against him. Every single time I think he's gonna, lose. I think somebody will figure out eventually. I think there's plenty of things that DDP leaves open for his opponents. But that being said, he's been very tough and super durable. He finds a way. I thought Izzy was probably having the best round of that fight, and then DDP finds a way to take Izzy down and submit him. So, easier said than done.
And with that question that you asked, and the reason why it's so hard, and, I get to ask Pereira because I see the holes that he has, but when you really look at the list of champs, like, bro, these niggas some killers, bro.
No, yeah.
Like from Il Tuporia, you know what I mean? From Merab himself, from Islam, right? And he only lost one time, right?
Long time ago.
Long time ago,
yeah.
right? And then Belal, but he submitted his name in order to become a champ, you know what I mean, in a position, right? So it's just like you got a lot of world champions that, deserve to be champs. And it's even being a challenger, it's just like you're going to have to really live up to, really being as great as you claim or want to be, right, when you're facing these guys because they work very hard to be in a position where they at. So, like, you really got to be about your business, bro, when you fighting them.
Oh, yeah, my honorable mention, Tatiana Suarez, I give her a good chance. Not saying it's going to be easy, but I think she does present problems to Zhang Weili. So I could see that being another one. But that's honorable mention. I think Zhang Weili's great, so it's going to be tough to beat her. But if anybody could do it, I think Tatiana Suarez is a tough test.
No, I'm still rocking with my hidden dragon, you know what I'm saying? No, I like that, though. That's dope. What else we got on there?
We got the GFL, new Global Fight League. I think I'm saying it right. I'm not really sure what's going on here.
Yeah.
Signed a lot of major free agents. Tony Ferguson. Let me look. Sage Northcutt, JDS, Gegard Mousasi, Douglas Lima, Kevin Lee, Rashad Evans, etc., et cetera, et cetera.
This, for me, I feel like it's good for the sport. It's good for the athletes. It's good for the fighters because it gives you more opportunity to have somewhere to go in order to get some bread, right? To do what you love to do. But to take the promotion serious and think that it's going to last and think that it's going to compete with the UFC, like, I just can't see that, And I feel like it's so much hype behind it, so much hype behind this organization where, like you said, man, just those list of names alone, it's just like, how are they going to be able to pay these fighters? Because these high-level, well-known guys, even though they older, right, and people want to call them watch, it is what it is, but, like, they still got name value. So how are these guys going to even pay for these fighters to get this money. And they talking about giving up 50% of their revenue to the fighters, right? Having health benefits. Like, this all sound good, but like, how y'all gonna be able to sustain the business is the most important thing. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's just like, for me, you can't compete with the UFC. You have to kind of have your own niche. And what they're trying to do is, I think, like, trying to develop a team. And, you know, like you said, I think before, like, people get drafted.
Different nation, yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know if AI created this shit, you know what I mean? But I feel like, you know, it's not gonna be as successful as they might plan. But hey, man, I might just call it right now. I don't think it ever happened.
You think this will be like
Not even one and
no,
done.
like Affliction or
Yeah,
whatever. When they're supposed to fight.
What's that? The Fire.
Fire Festival.
It's gonna be the Fire Festival, dog. Like, it's just like, people gonna buy so much money into it. Niggas gonna buy tickets, have all type of shit, and it's just never gonna happen.
That's hella
Yeah,
funny.
that's what I think it's gonna be. Yeah.
My thoughts. I mean, it's interesting. It's like MMA's big three, you know, juxtaposed to the NBA, right? So you have all these, you know, there are some young up and coming fighters. Let me say that. There's young up and coming fighters, guys who are still somewhat in their prime, fighting for this organization. But it seems like they're following the age-old model of signing legends and marquee fighters who are a step behind what they used to be and don't have the same performances that we're used to and we're accustomed to. Excuse me. And I don't think that model works. I think we've seen it multiple times over and over. People want to see people ascending. So the question is, are you going to try to build new ascending fighters and also do legendary marquee matchups, or are you just going to try to do fights that we wish we would have saw, but it's past their prime?
Right.
So I think that's the question. I don't really get the nation thing or region and territory thing. I don't know if fans will really connect with that. You know, because it's like you're drafting people and they're not actually from that nation. I understand that happens somewhat in sports, but I don't think that'll resonate to people.
No.
I think it'll happen. Do I think it'll be successful? It's not having a good reception right now.
Right.
Like, are you interested in seeing Rampage Jackson fight Rashad Evans at this point in their careers?
Nah, not for real. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Like,
you know, because I think us, you know, who've competed and, you know, you're still an active fighter, you think about the people's health. You think about, you know, what's the damage after this?
the serious points, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, it's awesome because it gives an opportunity for fighters to make money. You know, it gives guys to come back, you know what I'm saying, and have them glory days again, right? And just to be able to step into that, you know, that cage again. But at the end of the day, though, I feel like there's a lot of chances where things are going to go wrong, and like things that could happen that, you know, even that little money ain't going to really be worth anything. So it's just like, I feel like a lot of fighters should just learn from this, right? And I'm talking about the younger generation. Like, if you don't want to be fighters like this that's still trying to fight in their 40s and stuff like that, maybe like check what you're doing with your bank. You know what I mean? Check what you're doing with your money, like, and focus on building a brand so you don't have to fight outside of, you know what I mean, being a certain age. So that's what I want to do. You know, I want to be a part of the business. I don't want to be in the business where I'm in the cage still, right? At 40 years old. I want to be able to develop fighters. I want to be able to be a coach, promoter, whatever that is. But I want to be able to make my money outside of fighting. And, you know what I'm saying, and be a part of the business than be in the business of fighting still. That makes sense?
No, I agree. I think one of the things is we talk about fighters getting paid. And I'm not sure everybody, because I want to speak, and don't put generalities on, I'm not sure everybody in this needs to get paid. I'm sure some of them are doing well and, you know, made the good business moves and took care of the finances. But at the same point in time, you're right. Some guys might be in that situation. And I'd love for them to get paid, but at what expense? And I don't think there's an MMA version of, like, you know, the senior PGA, whatever, you know, whatever that is. Like, I don't think there's think there's a healthy version of the big three for MMA.
I was just about to say the Grandpa Fight League. Dude. That's what it Let me stop playing.
So, as much as I mean, as long as they're trying to do both things, I guess I really don't care because, you know, we saw this with Bellator. We saw this with many other promotions, so I can't pick on them. Get your money if you want to, enter at your own risk. But, you know,
that's 100%.
It is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of that, right, you know, there's a lot of situations where you got the old school versus new school. You know, since we spoke about Rampage, you know, what did you think about the whole Rampage and the Kevin Holland situation?
It was just weird. You know, obviously, I've run into Kevin a bunch of times with you. I've seen Rampage here and there just like backstage at a Bellator event. I've never really spoke to either gentleman all of that much. But it seemed like they were just kind of beefing over nothing. It showed me that like the power of ego in both ways.
Yeah.
For Kevin Holland, he had a chip on his shoulder for something that probably could have been squashed off camera. Something small, Instagram post. Nobody mentioned mothers, family members, baby moms, whatever the case may be. And then for Rampage, it's like you want that respect of you still being a fighter and an OG and you're a world champion. And I don't think either one makes sense.
Yeah, 100%.
It just is what it is.
I think that whole scenario was like kind of just made more than what it should have been, right? And then obviously, right, with Kevin reacting the way he did, would I have reacted that way? Nah, not at all. But regardless, though, I cannot get mad or upset on how somebody reacts to whatever situation, because if that bothers them, okay, whatever, it's
Right.
cool, right? But that's why it's beautiful to be in the type of sport that we in, right? Because if we cannot talk it out, we can always hash it out, right? But I respect Rampage for keeping it business, you know what I mean? Like, hey, bro, we ain't got to do all of that, right? But, he's still trying to clown, Rampage on, what do you say? Like, shut the fuck up. And, you know what I'm saying?
Talking about what caliber pistol.
Yeah, 45, 70, real man know what that is. So, like I said, in my humble opinion, though, I really feel like we're in the greatest business alive where we can always just figure this out. Because I think that a lot of people, unfortunately, and I'm not digging on Rampage, but I really feel like if there was a situation or a scenario where an older fighter versus the younger fighter or newer fighter who's already been putting in their work and their experience, right? Like, unfortunately, older fighter is going to take the L, We seen the situation with a lot of people thinking that Jake Paul was going to lose to Mike Tyson, right? Just because of what Mike Tyson was able to do back in the day, Like, it's just like you can't put those scenarios on, like, right now, At the end of the day, you got to stand on business, because any young buck that come after me talking crazy, I'm going to do what, KS, I'm going to get that 45-70 real quick, you know what I mean? They show young buck was good. But I really feel like people just got this weird idea that, unfortunately, like the older guys from back in the day, the old school, can still rock it with the new school, man. And, I feel some type of way about that still,
I mean, it's interesting. I mean,
Mhm.
at some point in time, you have to look at what level the fighter is fighting at. So we're talking about somebody at Kevin Holland's, his caliber of fighter. I'm going to give him credit for him winning a lot of big fights and beating some guys. For Rampage to probably be able to beat up somebody at that stage of their career, probably not. It's just highly unlikely. It's not like Kevin is like a newbie coming in. It's his first UFC fight.
Right.
Somebody who's fighting at the regional level. I think Rampage could beat up a regional level professional fighter, most likely.
Of course. Yeah.
Even if age wasn't if age is a factor.
Mhm.
But Kevin Holland is fighting the best of the best. Just because he's losing to Wonder Boy and losing to this guy, that guy, he's losing to the best of the best.
Yeah,
He's not losing to bums and trash cans.
No, of
as
course.
people
And
say.
look, I want to just say this right now. We not advocating for Kevin Holland. Like, I hope and I wish that Rampage would spin his ass around. But in all reality of things, that's what I'm on the realm of. It's just that for me, I feel like there's a lot of people that still think that the older guys still got it, right? In a situation where, having the idea that, these guys still live up to what they did in the past.
True.
And that's cool if that's how y'all feel, but it kind of takes away from what we do as well as fighters, right? That they don't respect the things that we do, because I feel like no matter what the old school say, right, people are always gonna take their side. And as a new school fighter, if you bring anything up, right, they're gonna take all type of backlash to you. So with that being said, it's just like, I feel like it's kind of unfair because people are always living in the past. Like, let's check the present. We in the brand new, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And let's keep it real, like, because in a scenario where a lot of, and I'm not just even talking about Rampage and Kev, it's just like with Michael Bisping, Chael Sonnen, and who else was talking crazy, like, you know what I mean? But it's just like they really feel like they still in the business of fighting, but like you got a different job now.
Of course. Well, everybody
Right.
wants to feel like they're that guy. Like that. The killer instinct isn't gone. It's just the ability to carry that out. And you said something, and I want to make it blatantly clear. I'm definitely not advocating for Kevin Holland because I thought it was ironic.
Mhm.
Some of the things that I've seen behind the scenes, that we spoke about, which I won't get into here, for you to make it seem like you're the victim or somebody trying to antagonize you, when I just know the things that he's done, it's like, if you can dish it, you should be able to take it.
No,
That's
100%.
That's like the least of the, so that's the only issue I had with it from that perspective. Kevin can definitely be an agitator, a shit starter, a shit talker.
Right. He pretty much Rampage, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like 2.0 when it comes to shit talking. But regardless, it's just like I said, just like getting back on the point for me, it's just like, bro, y'all old now. we got to do what we do, you know. And I feel like there's always a transition, and I feel like there's always got to be a respect thing that is always given. You know what I mean? On both sides, on both sides. So, having all that being said, it's just like I just can't wait to be able to show my light and show what I do, and you know, and like I said, put myself in a position where people start to respect me like the older people of the past, you know. Because when you say you can beat somebody, you know, like I said, when we was talking about, you know, the George St. Pierre situation, right? And a lot of people just, you know, ran with it, was like, how you think you can do this, right? It's just like having the respect that the next generation is always gonna get better, you
Well,
know?
and I think that's what the legacy of the previous generation does. You don't get a Islam Makhachev without getting BJ Penn. You
Hmm.
don't get a Kamaru Usman without having Matt Hughes and having Carlos Newton. You know, you don't get Israel Adesanya without having Anderson Silva.
Hmm.
Those guys, I'm sure, watched them in their primes and peaks, and you can see things from their style that translated. You know, things that they took. The younger generation might not know, but I see the progression for where things came. So you should always want the guys to take the torch and carry it further. So
Exactly.
MMA is in a better spot than it was, and the BJ Penns left in a better spot than the guys previous to them. That's just what happens, you know.
Hmm.
So it is what it is. But
No,
yeah,
100%,
but yeah.
100%,
But no,
bro.
no,
You,
but
you you broke it down well, man. Because like I said, bro, I feel like damn near, bro, we fighting the old school, bro. You know
but
what I'm saying? We just
it's the
want to be
same
loved,
thing.
bro.
Same thing in every sport.
Hmm.
Michael Kobe, MJ, Kobe LeBron. You know, this always was going to be Isaiah Allen Iverson.
Hmm.
It's always going to be people arguing who's better in what generation. But we got some big fights.
Yes.
It's a UFC Fight Night, which is interesting because we have a former champ headlining. I don't know if I've ever really seen him on a Fight Night card.
Uh, I be honest with you, I can't even say when the last time he was on the fight night card because I mean, even when he got started, I mean, not won the belt, but like he was on pay per views for a minute,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because he was already had a name, he already had like a market in kickboxing. But yeah, this might be. I'm not gonna say the first, but like, how long since it been since he fought on a fight night?
I can't recall. I mean, I could look.
I know, yeah, we can look it up.
Yeah,
Hold
look.
on, here, I got you.
You gonna look at it. I'll introduce it. Israel Adesanya versus Nasruddin Amavov. Uh, Nasruddin, somebody who you did compete against.
Yeah.
Israel Adesanya, someone who was a champion for a long time. Um, I guess once you figure out when's the last time, just
Oh no, you fine.
no general thoughts and about that fight and the rest of the main
Since
card.
2019, bro.
2019.
Crazy work. But yeah, so with me being in the cage with Nasruddin, you know, and me being able to go 3 rounds with him, you know, I really feel like he's the type of fighter that you know, fights with ego, you know, fights with a lot of emotion. Not the smartest dude when he step into the cage. You know, he allows his emotion to kind of dictate where the fight goes, unfortunately. And even though I feel like Nasruddin has a lot of talent and has a lot of skill sets, it's just when he's in a certain fight and he thinks a certain way, he's going to fight a certain way. So he's not going to use all his best abilities, all his skill sets in the fight. And I feel like he's going to go in this fight, you know, trying to, you know, prove a point, you know, try to show the world, hey, man, I can strike with a striker. I can knock out, you know, the former champion, Israel Adesanya, and it's going to, you know, backfire. And I can see, you know, Izzy pretty much getting a good, you know, 5 round, you know, just love tap, right? Little tap here, little tap there, you know, because, you know, he got the French tip, so you don't want to break a nail. So I can see Izzy getting the win, you know, pretty in a dominant fashion, I could say.
Yeah, I think they tend to do the same thing pretty well. Israel Adesanya is just a lot more credentialed and a lot more established in that. So probably a fight, a kickboxing match. And Izzy's caliber, I think, is a bit higher than
Hmm.
Nasruddin's. No disrespect. So I can see it being the same sort of way. If Nasruddin can change up tempos, can change the medium where they fight, meaning distance and pace, and mix in some even takedown attempts. I think that helps his case. You know, I think if he goes out there and tries to fight with ego and say, "I'm going to beat you up with your best stat," I don't see him getting that done.
Yeah, no. So I feel like Nasruddin on this one, he definitely gonna try to have to use his head, especially if you want to make it to that next step. Like, is he fighting, you know, in a position where, like you said, we seen him on a fight night, right? But like, where does this take Izzy, right? We know where this take Nasruddin if he beats him, right? And that's to a title. But win or lose, what does this do for Izzy? You know, exactly. Like, you know, I feel like for real, like I don't know if we see another Izzy fight if he loses this one. You know, obviously if he wins, right? You know, he took on that challenge to fight a guy that's still trying to come up into the rankings, right? So the UFC will reward you for that, right? Especially you being a former champion and a decorated champion and holding the belt for so long. But with a loss, like do you think we see Izzy again?
That's a good question. I mean, Israel's 35. He's done all the stuff that um he could imagine doing. Getting the belt back from somebody who lost 2 3 times in Potan, becoming a champion, beating Whitaker when Whitaker looked unbeatable.
Mhm.
So I don't know if he needs to, but I think there's still room out there for him. I think middleweight has been one of those divisions where there hasn't been one person you look at and say, man, that guy just can't lose. Crazy that the champion is undefeated, but I don't think anybody looks at it. The fight with Strickland was close enough. Adesanya, I think he would want that fight back with Strickland. I think he'll want that fight back with Duplessis.
Mhm.
So I think he would try to get back there because I don't know if anybody besides I don't know if Nasruddin could beat him in a way that would make him feel that he can't
Yeah.
compete. So if he loses the decision, I think he'd come back.
100%,
If he
I
gets
guess.
knocked out, I think that maybe he would second guess that.
Mhm.
But I don't think Israel Adesanya have any trouble. What this
Mhm.
does for Nasruddin, I mean, he lost
yeah.
to he lost to Strickland somewhat recently, right?
It's been a couple years
Yeah,
now. It's been a couple
but
years.
last couple of fights.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he's going to be waiting in line, of course, with that.
Nasty, he been on a little streak, but like the streak kind of sus though, because like he
Yeah,
had
yeah.
the no contest with Chris Curtis. I think the one big win that he had was against Roman Delise, and he won decisively in that fight. But then the other one, Jared Cannonier, that was kind of suspect because there was an early stoppage on that one, and then he just had this last fight with Brandon Allen, which Brandon Allen was winning. He just played this up. I ain't gonna lie, you know what I mean? Shout out to Brandon Allen, though, bro. You be back. So
he's on a I think 3-fight win streak. It looks like, and but as I said before, there's not a strong contender. So if he wins, obviously this propels him, rocket ship to that fight.
Yeah.
And him
actually, no, I'm bullshitting. Like he thinks, and I'm talking about nationally right now. He thinks that if he's able to get a great performance over Izzy, that he's going to be able to skip the line over Hamza. Do you think that would be possible?
Well, that's the only thing about Hamza. There's so many scheduling issues. Also, if Israel Adesanya wins or whatever happens, Izzy Hamzat does more than I think Duplessis and Strickland does. I think those two guys fighting, Hamzat fighting anybody, he could probably fight almost anybody in the top 5 is going to do numbers. So it'll be hard for him to pass him up. I don't think that's going to happen.
I don't think that's going to happen.
But the only issue with Hamzat, he just seems like he can only
visa
fight.
Issue,
he can only fight certain places. So I think that'll make it hard for him to get a marquee matchup too. So I'm interested.
Okay.
Speaking of somebody else with a similar, we have Shara Magomedov versus Michael Venom Page. That's an interesting fight. U.S. somebody who is preparing for somewhat of a similar style. And Wonderboy, how do you see that fight going?
I like this fight. Like stylistically, and you see that MVP is moving up right in weight class and testing itself and seeing what 185 is about. Because I don't know if he ever fought at middleweight before. So, but regardless, though, just stylistically how they both fight and how creative they are. I know that Shara is definitely going to be prepared for that style of fighting, just because he's very intrigued by that style. Even if you didn't have a background in Taekwondo, you can tell, like, with his style of fighting that he definitely has studied that background and studied traditional martial arts. So I don't see Shara having a difficult time with MVP. But I know that MVP, though, with that being said, with him not having to cut the weight, I don't know if that's going to do him a negative or a positive, right? Because you don't have to put any extra stress on your body. But is he going to be able to be as fast, and as athletic, carrying that extra weight, because MVP is a very, aerobatic fighter where he, flying knees here and, and throwing wheel kicks and everything of that nature that takes very high explosive movement. And I really feel like at the end of the day, at 170, he had that speed, but seeing him move up in weight, it might have a transition on how he fights. So I'm very intrigued in the fight. I'm very intrigued in the matchup. And I know it's going to be a fun-ass fight to watch.
I agree. I think it'll be exciting regardless of the result. Although sometimes we get the two really good strikers with each other.
You don't do that. Don't put that out there.
It's just the truth. But sometimes it's a little boring because they're looking at each other knowing they can knock each other out. With that being said, I think Shar is aggressive enough And MVP's cerebral enough where it's going to be a good contrast to styles.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when you get those two kind of matchups, the aggressive fighter can bring some aggression out in the fighter who's a little bit more calculated, a little bit more of a counter striker. With that being said, I just think that obviously MVP's 37, but I think he's more special than Shar is with striking. I think he has the more freak factor. Like his style is.
You say so?
I think so. MVP in his prime. I think you look at Shar, some of his highlights, they're amazing. But MVP made the whole world interested in Bellator. Like that, I think it's a different level.
Anytime you put a hole in a nigga's skull,
right? I think it's. I think he had just a more unique style, and I think he was just a little bit more explosive in a lot of his finishes. And I'm saying like he's not fighting, but I think he's just a little. I think guys are afraid of Shar. I remember a time where people didn't think MVP could be beaten. They thought he was like this mythical creature. You remember when you were fighting Bellator at 185? Yeah. So I'm just saying, I think if it is a pure striking match, I think MVP has a good chance. I think he's elusive enough. He's sharp enough. If he doesn't try to showboat and get carried away, I think he could have a lot of success. With that being said, Father Time is undefeated. And the longer that fight goes, I think the younger man just stands for. But if I had to put money on it,
MVP.
I'd probably go MVP.
Okay, that's nice. And who else we got, bro?
Let's take.
Oh yeah, we got the big heavyweights, boy. Sergey versus Rosenstrike. That's gonna be a good one. I mean,
great fight.
They both coming to strike. That's all I know.
100%.
Even though I feel like Sergey, Russian? I ain't never seen this man go for a takedown, not one time. So with this fight, man, it's hard to kind of say because all it takes is one good punch, one good combination, bro, and you sleep. So I feel like Rosenstrike, even though he has a decorated background in kickboxing and has put on some great finishes in the UFC, so has Sergey. So it's a toss up for me, bro, on this fight, man. It's hard to even pick a winner.
For me, I'm a big Biggie Boy fan. I like Rosenstrike. I like his style. He seems to be very sharp. He doesn't load up a lot. He's very calculated. He has good feints, good setups. But with that being said, Sergey Pavlovich is a style that he's had trouble with before. He's had trouble with what's my guy, Francis Ngannou's.
Yeah. And the Thanos.
He's had trouble with the more aggressive style strikers in that division. And while a lot of times I have felt that he's the cleaner, but he looks to find these clean breaking moments and he gets backed up to the cage and he gets caught. And Sergey, I think he has that power to affect him. I think if Rosenstrike can get on his bike early, move laterally, and not let Sergey just kind of march forward and then dead sit in the cage, he opens up his window of chances. But if he plants his feet for any second and it's early in that fight, I think Pavlovich has a really good chance to put him out. With that being said, flip a coin because they're heavyweights because you just never know what you're gonna see.
Nah, not at all. But I like how you broke that down, like with just understanding, like as long as you're not standing still, right, and you constantly in motion and you setting up your shots and you're not backpedaling, right, and causing yourself to be backed up against the cage, like you give yourself more of an opportunity. But the thing is, though, them heavyweights, bro, they don't like moving so much, and getting into a scenario where, right, it takes a lot of energy to be constantly moving, and you start to slow down, and now your punches start to waver because you're tired, So I hope that Rosenstrike, if he is able to use that, I would rather see him push forward, if anything, and try to get Sergey on his back foot, But yeah, if he's standing right in front of like anybody, right, it's like hitting a brick wall, you know what I mean? But I feel like whoever dictates that forward motion first is going to win that fight.
No, I agree. Rosenstrike has a really beautiful jab. He has good teeps up the middle. He has the weapons and tools to utilize to make himself have that distance control and control space. And he's quick, very fast for a big guy. But he's, like I said, I've just seen him caught in those moments, whether it's against Alexander Volkov. Even he struggled against Alistair Overeem. He ended up having that big comeback. But I've just seen him have trouble with that aggressive style of striker for whatever reason. So I'd love to see Biggie Boy get it, but I'd be surprised.
100. So who we got next, man? Look like we got is it Saeed?
I think it's Saeed.
Saeed Nurmagomedov versus Oliveira. I don't know, man. Hey, is he related to Habib and Umar and them?
I don't think so. I
You
really,
don't think so?
no, I honestly don't believe it. I think it's just the last name.
It's just the
It's the
last
same
name.
last name.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, right now he got to stand on that name because it's not looking so good after Umar lost to Marab. So Saeed definitely got to put on for the Nurmagomedovs. But this might be a good fight. You know, I haven't watched much of Saeed or Oliveira, but I seen a lot of highlight reels of Saeed. Man, it looked like he's a finisher for sure. And then the same thing with Oliveira. It looks like he's a finisher as well. So you know, I'm sure you can bring it more to light what these guys can do.
Yeah, I mean, Saeed is pretty well rounded. Obviously, he does train with Habib and those guys. Not related to as far as as far as I know, but similar kind of style. You know, he'll strike a little bit, but you know, he's a really good grappler as well. Where it seems like Oliveira likes to use his striking, punishing. You know, Muay Thai kickboxing kind of style, very aggressive. I think Oliveira is undefeated in the UFC. I'm pretty sure. Don't hold me to that. I'm pretty sure he
I got
is.
it right here.
And I think Saeed is, only lost a couple fights, but had a lot more experience.
Okay.
Maybe I think Saeed is 7-2 in the UFC. He's won 4 of his last 5, and I don't think Oliveira's lost yet in the UFC. So it's gonna
So
be.
you say he hasn't lost in the UFC, but he got a couple losses.
He has
He
3
got
losses, but I don't think he's.
I got you.
Yeah, I don't think he's lost in the UFC just yet. So
So he just got signed.
yeah, what he?
Yep.
What, I think 3-0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fight got canceled. 2-0.
2-0.
1 KO, 1 decision.
2-0. But he's looked really impressive in that. So I think.
And with that being said, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
How many fights does Saeed have?
I think he has 9 in the UFC.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a big.
That's what I was gonna say. The experience.
Yeah.
A lot of times we've seen recently some of these undefeated fighters, especially on the last card, we saw them fight guys who had ups and downs, but had a lot of experience and they had trouble. So I think the experience for Saeed and the camp he comes from really could help him a lot in this fight. So it just depends. I think I lean towards the guy with experience.
Yeah. Okay. Then. Yeah, I would do the same thing with 9 fights in the UFC. Then I can't even pronounce these dudes' names. But
Mohammed Niyama versus Khan Ofi. If I butcher your name, I'm sorry. I've seen fights from both individuals. I'm not super familiar with them. Niyama, I've seen fight more. He just had his first loss, I want to say, in the UFC. But he surprised me on a lot of his performances. And without having a ton of experience on the other individual, I'm gonna just go with Niyama because I've seen him fight more.
No, Muhammad. Yeah. I love it though. No, this is a good card, bro. Even though it's a fight night,
You got T-Rec on there too on the prelims.
Oh no, I didn't even. Hold on, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, you got a bunch of good fights. Jasmine Jadavish versus Mara Branda Silva. What else?
Where is this fight located anyway?
This is somewhere in maybe Australia. I want to say.
No, that can't be there. Nah. The venue is called the venue.
No, Saudi Arabia.
Saudi card?
Yeah. This is early in the morning.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is in the morning.
Oh, this is a morning card.
Yeah,
too?
morning. Yeah.
I would have missed that.
It's like 11 a.m.
Well, that's that.
Well, that makes sense because I don't think Shar can even fight over here, so that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In the welterweight division, we have issues with the champion and former champion Belal Muhammad and Kamaru Usman. What are your takes on that? Just them going back and forth. It seems like they've been doing this for a long time.
Well, my thoughts on that, and if I'm gonna keep it a buck, man, Kamaru Usman getting his ass whooped, bro. Belal getting on him. I really feel like that situation with them going back and forth. They trying to sell something, right? They trying to make a build up for a fight that can potentially sell pay-per-views. But I feel like Kamaru Usman, before he even gets to a title shot, I feel like he has to fight one more. I know he got to fight one more, and that one more is me for sure, right? And with that being said, Belal praised that he's able to get Usman, before he fights because he know that Usman ain't got it no more, right? Usman is not the same fighter that he was, not even just a year ago. Even though he had that fight with Hamzat, right? And a lot of people like, oh no, he still got it. It's just like it is what it is. I feel like the style of fighting that Kamaru Usman is used to, that with these new guys like myself, like a Ian Gary, like of Shawkat, even Belal with them pillow hands, right? Like we know how to throw hands now. So I think with Kamaru Usman and Belal, man, they just trying to sell somebody something, right? And they just trying to make this fight bigger than what it really is. But right now, I think Belal really got him up against the ropes. You know what I mean? Definitely when it comes to promoting the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it was just interesting. He calls Bilal out and says, why doesn't Islam just go up and take that belt? Like he's
Uh-huh.
light work, like he doesn't deserve to be the champion. But I think it's just funny because they're both great in their own respect. But I think at some point for Bilal winning all those fights, beating someone that Kamaru Usman had trouble with, you have to give him credit.
100%. Oh
Uh,
yeah, he flatlined
yeah.
Usman, and Belal dominated Leon. And for me, this is just my opinion. I just don't think Kamaru Usman got it anymore. That's why we have not seen him. If he still had it, if he still was that guy, he would take this fight. Like matter of fact, perfect example. Izzy fighting Nasruddin. Izzy could hold out. He can wait for his opportunity to fight for a belt. But he understands that you have to submit that, right? You have to show that, and you have to prove that is you're worthy enough to get back into that that title contention. So with that being said, it's just like Kamaru is just waiting on his opportunity to get pulled up, right? And right now, that's what Belal is trying to do. But you see me yanking that motherfucker back down, trying to get him. I really feel like at the end of the day, it's just my job to kind of really get that fight made between me and Kamaru Usman, right? And if Kamaru Usman beat me, rightfully so, you should fight for the belt. But I know that I got my abilities and I know what I can do. Once I knock out Kamaru Usman, man, right there, and unfortunately, Belal don't think I'm a money fight, so I'm gonna have to do my footwork, man, and make sure we get that bread at the end of the day.
I think it's interesting. So it's twofold. I think that Kamaru Usman is just comfortable, right?
Mm-hmm.
As much as we could say anything, he's done the work for him to have the type of resume. Probably made a good amount of money in his fight career. He's just sitting back and waiting. But I think the other side to that, I give you merit, is where he doesn't see a fight that he would love from the potential roster. So you have some guys booked up, and then you have a bunch of dangerous sort of styles that don't necessarily go with his style of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if he saw the right matchup, he would probably go for it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I just in my humble opinion, I don't think that the matchup with you intrigues him. Not from a standpoint of he won't make money, it won't sell, that he would just dominate you. I think he knows it'd be a very difficult fight for him to win. So therefore, let me wait back, see how the division shakes. If Joaquin loses to somebody, if this person loses to that person, then I'll try to find the guy. Maybe a Sean Brady or somebody. A better style from him. Like I'm just being honest, a potential better style,
Look,
something he's more comfortable with.
and I'm glad that you said Sean Brady, because Sean Brady is definitely trying to bark for that fight with Kamaru Usman, right? And trying to make that happen. And that is a fight that Kamaru Usman would hop on
Feel very comfortable with.
very comfortable, right? But the thing is, though, what people fail to realize is not the fighters that match make, and it's almost not the UFC, it's the fans, right? The fans don't want to see that, bro. They don't want to see no Diddy party, bro. They don't want to see the oil bust out, man, and these dudes just not hugging each other. So with that being said, it's just like, for me, there's not a fight that Sean Brady has ever had that really has caught my eye or that is very memorable, And actually, it's only one fight, right? And that's the Belal fight, But we've seen that loss, and it gave
Why you gotta do him
no,
like
look,
that?
I'm
His
just
only good fights when he got his ass whooped. Come
yeah,
on, bro.
for real. But that's the only memorable fight. That's all I said. That's the only memorable fight that I had, because it's the first time that that somebody got knocked out in a pillow fight. Because Belal got pillow hands, you know what I'm saying? So that's always gonna be recorded, and that's always gonna be on paper. And I really feel like at the end of the day, it's just like with Kamaru Usman and with his name and with his style of fight, he would want a person like Sean Brady. That's why he coming up creeping like, hey, this is the fight to make. No other fight makes sense, but everybody know Kamaru and me, that's fireworks, right? On either side.
A lot more exciting.
On either side.
I think Kamaru's had a lot of opponents with a similar profile to a Sean Brady. Maybe his top jiu-jitsu style is a little different than some of the other guys, but I think we've seen him in Kamaru Usman enough grapplers.
Mm-hmm.
I think we want to see with somebody who also could
turn your TV off.
There we go. 100%. So yeah,
bro.
No knock to Sean Brady. From my side, it's just I think fans want to see something different. We would like to see Sean Brady maybe in Ian Gary, a contrast of styles instead of two similar sort of styles. Even though they don't do the exact same thing, but it's similar enough where the fans want something different.
There you go, right there. You just put a good fight. Ian Gary versus Sean Brady, and Sean Brady already asked for that.
He did.
So let's get it. Let's make that happen.
All right, so kind of keep it in the MMA boxing sphere, cross sort of thing. Kind Conor McGregor and the Paul brothers. I don't know if you've seen the recent developments from them. Conor basically telling them their side jobs, them barking back saying you don't even do your main job. What are your thoughts, views, opinions?
Shit, Logan ain't lying, bro. Kind of like talking about, bro. Look, y'all side money to me, side money, but you can't even get your main money. But I think it's just fun. It's entertainment, bro, and it's what people gonna buy in and watch. Point blank, period. If Conor came back, no matter what he was doing, you see him that he in bare knuckle boxing talking about he about to fight. Who the fuck is that guy?
So
Jeremy Stevens, like that shit
let me
crazy.
stop you. I don't want to fight anybody but in the UFC. I'm not. He'll fight Mike Perry. He'll fight Jeremy Stevens. He'll fight Logan Paul. Jake Paul.
Old
Paul
dude
Bearer,
at the pub.
Undertaker Kane. He'll fight anybody, but anybody in the UFC is crazy.
Yeah, it is wild because he's still a UFC fighter, you know, and but it makes sense because at the end of the day, it's just like it's hard getting in that cage, bro, and especially when you have done everything like what Conor has done and have reached the heights of a Conor McGregor. Like it's hard to step back in that octagon and really get that work in, you know, because what was his last performance that we can remember? What, Dustin Poirier, right?
I believe so. Yeah,
and it was off when he broke his leg. I can't remember. He broke his foot or something.
Yeah,
you know
yeah. I think so.
But
one of the losses to Dustin.
But regardless, though, like it's hard to come back from that, and the longer that you wait, right, the harder it's gonna get. So with that being said, it's just like he sees his opportunity, and there are more opportunities, and there are bigger opportunities outside of the UFC forum, right? Because you got other names like Logan Paul or Jake Paul and stuff like that in order to really kind of sell something that would be crazy, right? So not mad at him, but, you know, at the end of the day, my thing is why not just talk to the UFC and be like, bro, you know, I just don't think this for me anymore.
Right? No, I understand that. I think Conor can, you know, possibly give that one last performance. I'm not saying if he fights Islam, I don't think that, but I think there's somebody in the top 15, maybe top 20 that he would pair well with, a Michael Chandler or somebody where he might show us glimpses and flashes of the person who he thought was going to be the, you know, obviously is the biggest star, but going to take it to extreme new heights.
And if we're going to just stay on that topic, right, why do you think he didn't fight him, Michael Chandler? Because he is the perfect guy. Well, he's the only guy.
Some with his foot, you know, he had the legal trouble. I don't know.
Like, you know, you're right.
I think he had some injury, the legal trouble, all that. I think he just, you know, just didn't really make sense from at the time. I'm not one to know. But my point being is I think he can put on that performance, but will his ego allow him to say, I'm not necessarily the best guy anymore? Because I think his ego says, let's fight Islam. Let's fight an Arman Sarukian. But, you know, his ability is like, maybe let me fight number 7 or 8. And I think Conor can still sell that and still do it, but will you want to put your ego to the side and know that you'll probably never hold a title again, you know? And I think that's really more the question. And he doesn't need to do anything. Obviously, he's made a ton of money, all the accolades for him being double champ and him being the pay-per-view king that he was. I think his
still is crazy enough.
Right, but his legacy is cemented. He doesn't need to do anything to move the needle. But can his ego let him step aside?
Right.
I'm gonna ask you a question. You think you ever see him fight again?
I'm gonna try my best to get his ass in the cage, you know. And my thing is, I'm also a fan of this sport, right? And I've also been a fan of Conor McGregor. So with that being said, I would like to see him come back to the sport, you know, and to see yet again like what he can bring, what he can do, and just hold face facts that he does a lot for the sport when he does come back, right? And I'm in a position, and I have put myself in a position where I call my shots and I reach for the stars, you know. And a lot of things do actually come to fruition majority of the time, especially when I speak it into the universe, right? But I know that for me, in my personal opinion, getting that belt brings a lot of opportunities, right? And I feel like there's not been one champion that called his ass out. In all 100%, right? And all reality, because they don't believe that his ass ever gonna come back. But why not just try to entertain it just to see if you can? Because I
think Usman called out Conor when he was champ.
Recently,
right?
not
for a while.
You know, from Belal, from Ilya Topuria, you know, because he was talking about, you know, whether he come back at 145, but he said he wouldn't fight him because he wouldn't fight a rapist or something like that, right? And then you even got that's what Ilya said, all right. Crazy boy. And then as well with Islam, like don't nobody even mention his name. Like they just act like he is non-existent, right? The only person that shouts his name out at the top of the mountain is Michael Chandler, right? And the only way I would even entertain it myself is if I had that belt, because I feel like that'd be the closest opportunity for Conor to want to come back, right? If you had something on the line. You know, would the UFC make it happen? Nah, that's a whole different story. But yet again, like the fans make the fights happen.
Yeah, it's true. If it's up to me, I mean, like I said, if as long as it's not a title
Yeah,
fight,
keep it a buck.
yeah, as long as it's not a title fight, I'm cool with Conor coming back. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
the UFC don't care what I think. Conor don't need my permission, but something that makes sense. I just would hate to see him skip the line and fight, Ilya Topuria, for instance, when Mozart Avoyev is out there, for him to fight Islam Makhachev or Arman Sarukian. I think let the young bulls fight, the guys who are in title contention, who've been winning fights, doing the thing. Let those guys fight. And if you want to do Conor, do a legend, do somebody that makes sense. You know, I don't think anybody wants to see Dustin Poirier again, but somebody, him and Justin Gaethje makes sense. You know,
right.
Somebody like that.
Right. So I mean, so where do you hold just the entertainment value for fighting in, right? Just going off of what you're saying, like obviously I'll be answering my own question, but like you don't hold the entertainment value over just the standard of the rankings, right?
No,
It's like the John Jones and Stipe, and Tom Aspinall. You know what I mean? They knew that they could make their biggest fight with Stipe being a decorated heavyweight champion and letting him, even though he got knocked out 4 years ago.
I'll answer the question with the question. Did that fight make you feel better after the fight was over, or did you feel like that's kind of what I expected?
Yeah, that's kind of what
I
expected.
It's like
100%.
So like we were entertained because John is John and he's gonna be great. Like take nothing away, Stipe is gonna give me fight, but at that stage of Stipe's career, we kind of expected that. So I think that's the thing when you look for entertainment, that it kind of plays out usually how we expect it. Maybe there's some Hail Mary from the fighter that we don't think is gonna win, but when Conor fought Cerrone, I pretty much expected that to happen.
Right.
Maybe the fight would be a little bit more back and forth, but I thought that fight would play in that fashion.
Yeah. So just going still on top of that, right? Because it's just the entertainment business. It's just like going back on the Paul brothers, right? They just said that they finna fight each other. You got Logan Paul versus Jake Paul. Like we know that this is not a legit fight, but it's an entertaining like spectacle, right? Do you have any type of value towards even watching this because of that?
I mean, I'm not making any money, so there's no value to me. But do I think it would be legitimate or entertaining? People are gonna buy it. People will watch it. Is it gonna be MMA? Is it gonna be boxing? That's
a good question.
Both of them have wrestling backgrounds or whatever. So I think it'd be entertaining. Do I find value in it? No, I don't think there's any way that two brothers who are that close. I know they play, sort of characters and have personas, but I don't think there's any way that they legitimately fight. I think if you spend your money on that sort of affair, just understand you're watching WWE. You're watching something that's entertainment. It's entertainment.
No, it's pure entertainment, man. But I feel like sometimes you got to kind of hold entertainment up there too because it's the entertainment business, But I feel like it has to be a mixture of both to a certain degree. But this one right here, I feel like you said even before, like, is it gonna be a boxing match? Is it really on some WWE shit? Like, or are they doing MMA? Like, they really haven't announced exactly what they doing. So, we can all go into speculation and say whatever. But with that being said, it's just like since they are so close to one another, and they both like to troll, they both like to like this, both the content kings, right? Both the troll emperors. I really feel like that people that buy this thinking this is gonna be a for real thing, like they bought into the Mike Tyson and the Jake Paul situation. Now we knew what was up, but at the end of the day, like people really believe that Mike Tyson had a chance to beat Jake Paul, right? And I'm not saying the fight was fixed, but Jake Paul let Mike Tyson slide. You know what I mean? He ain't take my man Mike to the king, thank God, right? But I really feel like at the end of the day, it will be that type of affair. Like, you know what I mean? Let's take it, to a decision, or let's take it to
I think it'd have to be only for one major reason. Like Jake obviously seems to take the boxing a lot more serious than Logan, and Logan seems to be locked in on the WWE thing. So it's like, if they were to fight, I think Logan would trust that his brother probably, would be
blessed.
Yeah. Like I don't think it makes sense. Like obviously when your kids in a room and you're playing with your brother.
But as crazy as both of their ass is, I can see Logan actually getting knocked out. And we're not letting, because I think Jake could knock him out on his own, be honest with you. But like really just taking that and just trying to go viral. Like he'd get blessed with some CTE, bro, just to get a couple numbers on the YouTube channels.
Well, they'll make millions. Yes, they
would.
They'll make millions. There's a market for it for sure.
Yeah. So, but no, I just, because my thing is, it's just with us talking about that, there's another fight that's coming up. but one that's legit and then one that's entertainment. But I feel like the one that's legit is not going to even touch the numbers if this fight happened, and that's the Bud and the Canelo fight, right? So it's just like at the end of the day, it's like what do people value the most, you know? And I feel like right now the guys that create the content are influencers that are building up a market for themselves. They have more value within the entertainment business, even though you have legit fighters on this side doing the same exact thing, you know. But is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing? I really feel like it's fighters' opportunity to kind of learn and kind of take that from the content creators, right? And see how can they influence as well because they are a legit fighter, but they can also use that content creation in order to kind of build up their own platform and their own show, right? So with that being said, it's just like I hope and I pray that fighters kind of learn from this whole situation, man, and kind of build that market up for themselves to be just as big and if not bigger than the actual Paul brothers at the end of the day. Because that's crazy. Like Jake Paul and people laugh, he the biggest fighter even amongst Conor McGregor. Oh, okay, that's fine.
No, I agree. I think Canelo, your Tyson Fury, your Usyk, I think they're bigger than him. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think Bud and Canelo will do bigger numbers than Paul versus Paul. I think we're talking about two different things as far as the actual sport of boxing fans and fans of combat sports versus fans of just entertainment. And you get the extra fan base to come in and watch the things that we don't really necessarily care to watch, that we'll tune in, we'll watch. But when you find Canelo Alvarez a generational talent and you find Bud Crawford, who's a very special generational talent, I think everybody wants to see that. And I think he'll do crazy numbers.
I agree with you.
Thank you for watching another episode of Brick Brothers Podcast. Please like, share, subscribe, and be a brick.